It's so funny that my prediction around Seti was that she was going to be the one that was going to be a vampire whose problem was that they're bored. And it seems like at least Nazuna is sort of indicating that's her issue, which I kind of, half of me believes that Nazuna was saying that in order to push Ko away, just because he's having those doubts. She's wanting to help him by pushing him away, but at the same time, I think it was kind of natural. I really do believe that Nazuna's mindset is that she's been living for decades, she's bored, and I want to believe that Ko was the one that was bringing her out of that boredom. And that's why she's so happy about it. That's why she looked so sad when he was having these doubts. He said something to the effect of, you don't even want to turn me, right? You don't even want me to be your offspring. So it's a good deal for you kind of thing. And she didn't look happy. And again, that's when she turned to saying basically that, yeah, it's really boring. You probably shouldn't do this. I believe she was trying to push him away, but also I think she believed that. But no, really solid episode. Although at this point, with the end of the 12th episode, I am starting to fear for how this is going to end. There's way too many threads that are kind of opening that we're not going to get a conclusion on. Again, I still have my speculations about Mahuru and this other girl that's with him, and I really do feel like today's episode was kind of pushing on that concept as well. And yes, technically all the threats that Anko is giving to the overall group of vampires. But I think where it's going to end up going with the final episode is probably in the direction that Ko is going to get confronted by Anko, and she's going to finally tell her, look, they're good people, and I want to stay with them. Cast scroll, and that's the end of the season. I'm not quite sure where exactly they're going to go with having some sort of pinnacle ending with some crazy battle. I guess technically Anko can confront Nazuna and they might fight a little bit, but I think overall it's going to be Ko telling her that he does side with the vampires. But it was interesting that she gave him the option. She gave him the option of either become a vampire or stay human, and I will protect you, and I'll take them all out, which is pretty crazy. I do want to say that after recording the 11th episode impressions, I did come up with a theory based on the ring itself that Anko gave the guy that was in the school. I believe that ring was the ring that teacher was going to give to the vampire that turned him. And when I think Anko's special ability that she found to take out vampires is showing them their humanity. Because every vampire, or at least the offspring, all offspring are essentially going to be from humans. And if they can somehow show them something from their time as a human, that's what pulls them back and makes them essentially able to be killed. So in this situation, I believe that ring, because he noticed the ring. I believe that ring was a wedding ring. And that brought him back to the final moments before he became a vampire, and then she was able to kill him. And thus, as a detective, that's where her strong suit is figuring out what will show them. And the theory that I have around Akiyama, because she's looking for Akiyama specifically, is at the end of the episode with Akiyama, he went and took his glasses and went like this. Now, at the time, I assumed it was because he was taking his glasses off because now a vampire, he's able to see better, he doesn't need the glasses anymore. But I think if we see Akiyama without his glasses on at some point, that will be the ticket. Anko will have to find his glasses and then give him his glasses, and that will bring him back to the point of being able to be removed as a vampire. But anyways, this episode, like I said, pretty solid, and it's all kind of surrounding Ko and what he believes vampires, good or bad. Anko obviously is trying to instill upon Mahiro and Ko, and didn't show Akira, but assuming she's telling basically all of them that vampires exist and they're dangerous. And so this, of course, leads to Ko really questioning, do I really want to be a vampire? Everybody's asking him, dude, do you really want to be a vampire? That's really what Mahiro is really confronting him with. Why do you want to be a vampire? Everything you're doing now is you're doing as a human. So what's the point? And that's really what the confusion that comes to Ko. Well, I did it because I like the night. Well, I can still go in the night. Well, I did it because I want to learn about love. Well, no, I have to learn about love before I become one. Well, I wanted to hang out with Nazuna. No, I was hanging out with Nazuna because I want to become a vampire. All these reasonings that he had initially at the very beginning of the show that we all acknowledged. He was enjoying his freedom and everything. Everything that he has built up to being for vampires, he's doing already. So what's the point? The only other thing that you can really have there is to be able to do it forever. That's the only addition you're going to get by being a vampire. And yes, technically probably flying around the air. But no, yeah, this turns into a conversation with Mahiro specifically, who he's really pushing him, look, he doesn't really want that for him. And he's really questioning him, do you really want to do this? And yeah, from Mahiro's perspective, and additionally from Anko's perspective, vampires are dangerous. Why would you want to become one of those? Mahiro even questioning him, what are you going to do? Are you going to be living the rest of your life as a vampire, tricking people into drinking their blood? Or are you going to end up like that other guy 10 years later, dying because you don't drink blood? There's only two options for you, and neither one sounds good to Mahiro. Which, again, I think that's going to play into the future. If my theory, again, is correct, that this lady that Mahiro is hanging out with is a vampire, then I believe at some point she's going to turn him, and he's not going to like being a vampire. And he's probably going to be openly accepting of the idea of being stopped. Maybe even going to Anko himself to get rid of himself, and then Ko having to get involved, which I think will be super tragic. Having this idea that Mahiru, again, they're hitting way too heavy on him lately as being like this good friend of Ko, and I'm afraid that's going to lead into essentially him becoming I became a vampire and didn't want to be it. And it was funny because Mahiru said something specific that I jumped on. Vampires are dangerous. Like, we've seen what happened. Akira could have been killed. Vampires are dangerous. Why would you want to become a vampire? My main response was, as opposed to staying a human who constantly are harming each other. I like that later on in the episode, it really does feel like the writer knew that they were being a hypocrite about this concept. And so they actually had Anko present the idea that, yes, I acknowledge that humans harm other humans. But see, they're meant to coexist. They're meant to be next to each other. And of course, there's going to be conflict. My concern is something from the outside that shouldn't be causing harm to human. Something outside of the realm of humans is causing problems for humans. Humans are allowed to harm each other. Humans, there's going to be conflict. But I don't want this thing that isn't human to come in and mess with the humans. It's an outside force that shouldn't be allowed. It's outside of the normal rules of the world. And so, at least in Anko's eyes. So to have these vampires in the dark coming in and causing problems for humans, drinking their blood, Anko doesn't like that. Stealing away people, turning them into vampires and stealing them away from their lives. That's something that Anko doesn't want. So I like that at least the writer jumped in there and stopped me before I could say, dude, where's the usual argument that humans are terrible too? We're really painting this idea that you're going to become a vampire that's evil. It's like, well, as opposed to being a human. But yes, that's when we get the really solid scene in Ko's bedroom, because apparently his parents are gone, divorced, mom's always working late at night, that usual stick. But still, it was a really solid part, because I think of the entire series, the one character we haven't really got much growth out of, much insight into, is Nazuna. Like, all the characters, we know pretty much how they think, we know what their sides are, we know their personality. The only character that we don't really know much about by this 12th episode is Nazuna. We haven't really gotten a glimpse into what makes her her. She's very mysterious. She's always just kind of very chippery and goofy and silly, but never get an idea of what she's thinking about, how she feels about things. And I guess, like I said, her obviously trying to press Ko on like, hey, so are you done? Like, are you done? Are you giving up? Are you not going to become a vampire? And yes, finally he's like, look, I still want to do this, but I'm kind of scared about all the stuff that we just seen. Everybody's terrified of vampires. I don't really know anymore. I don't know everything that I thought about why I want to be a vampire is no longer a thing. Like, I don't see, he's not seeing the benefit anymore. And so she's like, well, let me help you out. Let me make your decision easier for you. Being a vampire is boring. I've been a vampire for decades, and I'm bored. Every day, it's the same thing. The only thing that's good that's come out of it is that she's a boss at video games. She's been bored this whole time. And it wasn't until she met Ko that she's suddenly having fun. That's why she's protective of him. That's why she loves being around him. And she's able to show him all these emotions through drinking his blood. He's something special to her. And though she doesn't want to say it, she wants to turn. I believe wholeheartedly at this point, Nazuna wants Ko to be her offspring because she enjoys being around him. He's different than everybody else. And so this is really disheartening for her that he wants to give up on this, even though she won't say it. She won't just come out and say, I want you to be my offspring, which I think would probably help him. Knowing that she has feelings for him, I think will allow him to better be able to express his feelings to her. Which I think in the end, if this story ever gets to the point where Ko does become a vampire, that's probably going to be a big part of it, is her acknowledging him so that he can acknowledge her. But I know this has apparently been going on for 141 chapters, and we're only like 43 chapters in, so who knows? Maybe it changes in like 3 more chapters, and then the rest of the show is about him being a vampire. There's no telling where this story goes. But no, I like the other thing that she brings up, and it was kind of before this aspect, is the idea that the thing that's drawing him to the night is that it's out of the ordinary. He's used to school and dealing with his parents and living life and possibly getting a job in the future. But the night is different. Similar to how they always kind of portray the theme of this entire thing, especially with the OP, everything's flipped upside down. Everything is out of the norm. Everything is opposite. The loudness is the quietness. The light is now the dark. Everything is out of the ordinary. He's not used to that. So that's what's the appeal to it. And that's what she's telling him. That's the appeal. You see the uniqueness of it, but as you stay there longer, you'll realize it becomes ordinary. It's out of the ordinary, and eventually it becomes the ordinary. And so the appeal is going to disappear eventually. And that's what she's kind of giving them the perspective with the whole board thing. I became a vampire a long time ago, decades ago. Everything's boring. It's the same thing over and over again. You're going to get that same feeling. And it's almost like she's being very clear with him. She's like, I lied to you. I made it out like it was great. And he's like, well, why'd you do that? Maybe I wanted it to be like that. Maybe she was showing him how great the night is because she was trying to deceive herself. Again, it's going to be up in the air if this is a lot to do with her trying to push him away and lying once again, lying upon a lie, or if this is how she really feels. And I think it's how she really feels because, like I said, seeing that hesitation, seeing that disappointment in her eyes the moment that he said that he's questioning this is a sign that she's being truthful here. But yeah, then she goes to leave. Trope fall on top of her, thinks that she's going to kiss him, and then she leaves. But yes, that's when we get the meeting with Anko, which, like I said, really did take a turn that I really didn't expect. Now, like I said, I assumed that she was watching him this whole time, which apparently my theory there is true. Obviously, if she wasn't watching him, the moment that they first met after that day, because he indicated that he knew Akiyama, she would have investigated him. But either way, my theory was that she's always been watching him. And so she knows about all the stuff about him and how he doesn't have prawn, but he does take pictures and keeps them and then deletes them. But she knows a lot about him. And plus, she knows about Nazuna. And so she knows how wrapped up he's in that world. And yes, really pounding heavy on the idea that, vampires are evil. Humans should be existing without vampires messing with them. She acknowledges that he has a problem with falling in love. Otherwise, he would have been a vampire already. So she offers him the thing, like, you're not going to become a vampire. You don't know how to fall in love. So rather than you dying, because they're going to kill you, and they're probably going to kill Nazuna too, because she brought you into their world. So if you want to remain human, I will help you. I will kill them all. So she's basically trying to pull him to her side and use his knowledge against the vampires. I want to say, though, at the same time, it feels like she's genuine. Like, deep inside, I think she's genuine. Like, she really does hate the vampires and wants to protect people. The way that she spoke to Ko right here really did feel like she was genuinely wanting to protect him. Like, I know they're dangerous, and you're just a casualty in the middle. Even though it kind of paints the later parts of this whole meeting as she's like this evil, manipulative girl, it does feel like she actually does care for him. Calling the police to come get him, she genuinely doesn't want him to be out there. She doesn't want him to become a vampire. Again, I just have that feeling, despite how creepy they're kind of making her in this scene, which is really creepy, I think she does technically care for his well-being and other humans. She doesn't like the vampires. She doesn't want them to win. Yeah, it kind of wraps him running away and eventually bumping into Hatsuka. So and insert one of the last remaining vampires ladies that we haven't met yet. But yeah, like I said, a lot of build up. I'm very scared about how 13 is going to end. I really do hope that we get a second season announced. As I kind of alluded to earlier, there's technically a lot of source material to work with here. We're kind of shaping up to being like at around chapter 50 when this ends in the manga. There's plenty of, we're not even third through the story, so there's plenty of content for at least 3 seasons now. So I really, really, really hope Leading Films immediately announce the second season because I want more. And just based on how much more effort they're putting into adapting this, the quality, the backgrounds that are not even present in the manga, they put a lot of effort into creating this atmosphere, and I want more. I can't get enough of it. So, but we'll see. That's my thoughts on episode 12 of Call of the Night. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. As always, if you did, make sure to hit that like button down below. Comment. Let me know what you thought of the episode. Subscribe to the channel if you've not already so you can get all my content. I do news, reviews, first impressions, top list. If it's anime, it's pretty much here. Additionally, if you want to support the channel more, we have a Patreon link, a tips link, and a super thanks button down below. I greatly appreciate everybody that considers, and y'all take care.